This is Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station on a feel good Friday morning. Yes, 32 minutes past 7 a.m. You're tuned into the Smooth Breakfast, your smoothest start to your day. Believe me when I say that, Ayokunmi right here with you. Time to take a look at what's going on in the papers, news making the rounds. This is Freshly Pressed. It is, as always, an interactive session. So we always look forward to getting your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions on stories that we will be sharing this morning. So come through. WhatsApp is right there, 0809 440 981. 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts this morning. Joining me to break it down and, of course, give clarity on the stories. AB Bozimo is with me in the studio, or, well, he's not in the studio, but hey, he's here in the spirit. But he's on the show this morning. Good morning to you, AB.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. Happy Friday to you all.
Oh, definitely happy Friday. You can't imagine how much I'm looking forward to the weekend. Just put my feet up and do absolutely nothing for the most part. It's going to be an amazing one. I feel it. I feel it definitely. And also joining us is Joseph Obari. He's connecting to the audio and he will be with us connected shortly. Very good morning to you, Joseph. I hope it wasn't network issues that got in your way.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Sorry.
uh, no worries at
Morning,
all. I mean,
morning, everybody.
Good
all
morning.
right.
Welcome, Joseph.
Apologies for being late.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, you are more or less right on time. Let's begin. And Joseph, you came in at the right time because I want to start in the Vanguard. This story talking about tax reform bills that have been sent to the National Assembly. Now, President Bola Tinubu has written the Senate and the House of Representatives with four different executive bills for far-reaching tax reforms. Now, one of the reforms is seeking the renaming of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, that's FIRS, to the Nigeria Revenue Service, that's the NRS. Now, that is one. That's one of the that's one of the reforms that are being sought. Now, another reform bill in the letter entitled Transmission of Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Bills to the National Assembly is the Nigeria Tax Bill, which seeks to provide a consolidated fiscal framework for taxation in Nigeria. There's also the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill as well, which seeks to provide a clear and concise legal framework for the fair, consistent, and efficient administration of all the tax laws to facilitate ease of tax compliance, reduce tax disputes, and optimize revenue as well. Walk us through this one, Joseph. Let's try to understand better where we're going to.
Well, it's interesting. I think what they're trying to do, of course, tax is one of the major sources of revenue to any government. But what's happened in Nigeria is that our tax system actually kind of burdens any particular those working only. I would dare say that those who are wealthy in Nigeria get away with their wealth. They don't pay tax. They evade taxation as best as they can. Because in other parts of the world, you tax luxury. People who feel they are very comfortable and they want to live a luxurious life, you put tax on them. So what's the debate in America today? I know most of the time you find that when the Democrats are in power, they tend to make the rich pay so that they can take care of everybody. And so they don't like it, most of the time. They begin to agitate against it. So our tax system hasn't been that very robust, but a lot of leakages here and there. So government doesn't get the revenue. So even within the system itself, there are people who are ready to sabotage the tax system. So you have revenue officers who will come to your office and negotiate with you. I'm talking of this IRFS, whatever, that they are trying to change the name. There are people there. Will that change? That's the question. You change the name. Would it change the behavior of the people who are in there? They come and negotiate with you. So you pay a certain amount of them to them, while the revenue that should have gone to government doesn't get to the government at the end of the day. But the working person is taxed automatically because it's taken from his salary. It's taken from his salary. And then there are duplications here and there. So we hope that these legislations will actually address the key issues at stake in terms of revenue generation for government. I like the idea that you want to make it more national, because the IFRS, it seems a copy of American system, or the name Federal Inland Revenue, all that seems to be like copying America. But you now say it's a Nigerian Revenue Service, and you're actually calling it revenue. So maybe it takes away that sting of, oh, it's tax, and everybody wants to run away from the tax man, really. So we hope to see get to know more about how this changes the whole tax system, duplications, and all that. And I should be able to pay my tax without really easily. If you want to have a tax index number today, you have to go lobby, you have to do this, you have to talk to somebody. It should be something that I can open the website of the Nigeria Revenue Service and create a profile for myself, and then be able load on my sources of income. And then when you have an automated system where things are integrated, it makes it easier. So the bank, they can know what your bank is paying you. They can know this, they can know that. And the tax is more or less deducted easily. So when we are manual, then there are opportunities for people to manipulate the system, to distort the system, and so. And then, importantly, how does this also trickle down to the subnational level? How would this also impact tax collection at the state level, where sometimes the duplications also occur?
Good questions there, AB.
The one thing I'd like to say is, though it's very human to run away from anything that's seen as a burden, at least in some of those other societies, when your tax is taken at the federal and at the state and at the county level, you do get to see what the tax is used for. So you might complain about it, but you have a right to say, hey, we need better roads, better schools, better public transport. They've been taxing Nigerians for 64 years. I dare say we have not benefited from those taxes. In fact, a very narrow set of people seem to benefit. And also, why taxes don't work so much in Nigeria thus far is because they don't really tax us. They get money from oil sales and they ignore us. So these are just two factors. But I'd like to see a more progressive tax system that actually taxes people fairly.
All right. Thank you for that, AB. AB. You know what they say? Three things are usually constant: death, taxes, and, well, filling the gaps as you see fit. All right, let's keep it going. And let's check out the story coming out of The Guardian. It has to do with the agricultural sector. Now, Nigeria has secured a $500 million loan facility from the World Bank to boost livestock production, commercialization, and resilience across the country. Now, the project's tagged the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project, that's the LPRES, runs from 2022 to 2028, funded with a loan of $500 million granted in 2021 and complemented by $46 million in a counterpart funding over 6 years. I'll let you take it from here, AB.
Okay, first of all, I saw the headline, and in reading the story, I am surprised that this loan that was granted in 2021, 3 years ago, is coming up as a headline today. I mean, so what has happened? $500 million odd dollars being put into the livestock sector. Let's actually assess what has happened. That sector, unfortunately, in this country, is associated with a lot of bloodshed. Let's call it that. You have this cattle rustling, you have the so-called bandits who are all terrorists, and so on and so forth. I want to say livestock could have potentially great economic value in the country, because there's some countries like Argentina and the Netherlands, where Netherlands exports milk as a national. The way we export oil, they export milk. Then the Argentinians are known for corned beef, and many other countries do a lot with livestock. And livestock as a value chain could be very valuable in terms of the people it employs on every level, both tending the cattle and the products that come therefrom. So $500 million, right? Yes, $500 million is not a bad sum if that money truly goes towards a sector. They're dividing it into animal husbandry. They're talking about innovation and things like enhancing the livestock value chain. All this is good. In fact, there's one part they call conflict mitigation and crisis prevention. That has 100 of that's 25%, 20% of that goes to that. If you look at Nigeria in the past few years, from 2021, has there been a reduction in conflicts over cattle or not? These are the questions that make me wonder whether this ordinarily well-intentioned sum of money is actually going toward the purpose intended.
Right.
Again,
right.
livestock. I grew up in Zaria, Kaduna State. Cattle used to walk across. I grew up in the Madu Bello University campus. Cattle used to walk across the front of my house. There was no conflict then. I really worry about how conflicts happen. But we want to have a move. This is an opportunity for a move towards maybe modernized livestock, production with ranches and located facilities and all that. It could spur a positive change. It remains to be seen whether that's some and many others. Because look, we're not going to sit down and say it's only that $500 million. Nigeria itself, the various states have a right and a role to play in that industry. But if we put our target on this that came 3 years ago, the question is, how has the livestock sector fared? I would argue that not very well. Not yet, anyway.
Very interesting, talking about that. I'm talking about this particular loan facility. I mean, there's been this back and forth over the creation of a Ministry of Livestock or not creation of Ministry of Livestock and all that. I mean, from where I'm sitting, I'm just wondering, do we actually need to have a separate ministry to deal with that, where we have the broader umbrella
no, we don't.
of the Ministry of Agriculture?
We do not need a separate ministry. We seem to have become ministry happy since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu entered office.
Oh my goodness. Let's take a quick break right now. When we come back in, Joseph, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to talk about Crude-for-loans. NNPCL votes 8 million barrels monthly to service $8.8 billion debt. That and a whole lot more on the other side of Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. Ministry of Livestock.
Such a country.
49th ministry. You people did not shuffle your ministers again. What happened?
Oh, you've not heard that every zone now has a development commission.
I heard now. Is it every zone? I think they just did
South. They were debating South yesterday.
Isn't that what NDDC is for?
No,
no, that's NDDC.
No. Everybody needs a development zone.
Yeah, so
I want a development zone in my village too.
Oh, and by the way, for the ministers, when the president is back from his working leave, that will happen. Don't worry. Just be calm. It will happen.
Maybe we need to go and check if AB's name is on that list. AB's name must be on that list.
We will no more see Ayo. Joseph, you and me will be talking to ourselves. Ayo will be made a minister.
I beg, let us go back. All right, welcome back to Freshly Pressed. This is Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station on a feel-good Friday morning. Ayokunmi right here with you. Alongside me are AB and Joseph. We are taking a look at what's going on in the papers, the major headlines that have Nigerians talking this beautiful morning. Come through and share your thoughts with us on WhatsApp on 0809 440 981. 0809 440 981. We're also streaming live on YouTube on Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, let me take one or two messages before we get back into that story we talked about there, Joseph. Let's see. Cisco Delgado says, changing the name of FIRS will not make them to be effective in service delivery. How do you expect people to pay taxes when they cannot use the taxes for development of Nigeria? Rexy from Surrey says, the boldest fiscal reform, policy reforms in our lifetime. Kudos to the Tinubu government. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Barrister Danukuda says, the rich in Nigeria should be heavily taxed and the proceeds used in providing basic amenities for the poor masses. The rich are getting away with their ostentatious lifestyle, which should be appropriately taxed. All right, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Keep the messages coming in as we get back into this story coming out of the Punch. Joseph, this says the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has pledged 2,500 barrels per day of crude oil through a series of crude-for-loan deals totaling $8.86 billion. Now, by pledging 272,500 barrels daily, it means that about 8.17 million barrels of crude oil will be used for different loan deals by the national oil firm on a monthly basis. Now, all this is according to the analysis of a report by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, that's NATI, and the NNPCL's financial statements. Now, we've known about these crude for loan deals, and these are really huge numbers, $8.8 billion debts. Now, at a time when we're having trouble with crude oil production, just yesterday we talked about a seventh postponement of the should I say takeoff of the Port Harcourt refinery. Now, isn't this a time where we have so many barrels of crude oil that are being used to service loans? Shouldn't this be, that indication that we need to produce a whole lot more?
And that's the point. The truth simply is that our oil sector is sick. It's been sick for decades. Because how you gauge the health of any oil sector is the number of rigs that are being deployed for new explorations, drilling for new crude. Nigeria has got abundance of crude oil, but we are not able to attract the investments that would exploit what we have. Now, we are even talking about managing what we are producing. We are barely producing 1.6 million barrels per day. So it becomes clear to you, it should be clear to you now why it is difficult to supply crude oil to Dangote. Because before now, everybody was like, oh, they were blaming the IOCs, or these all kind of games were going on. The truth is coming out gradually. If you've mortgaged over 200 barrels of crude production out of
272,000.
Yeah,
nearly 300
daily out of your 1.6 million. How much are you left with? How much are you going to give to sell to people outside? But mark you, the volume is not owned by NNPC.
Exactly.
This volume produced is not. So when people think here we produce 1.6 million barrels, and why is it that it's impossible? There are joint ventures and there are production sharing contracts. These different agreements determine how those who are producing, how they treat what is being produced. If it's a joint venture agreement, then the percentage equity of each of the partners in that very venture will determine how the crude is shared or distributed. So in the Shell joint venture with NNPC, for example, it is the NNPC has 55%. So the others who are involved in that have the remaining 45%. So they will take their 45. So what you're talking about in terms of what NNPC can control is 55%, and in some cases it's 60. In Chevron, I think it's 60. In the one on Mobile, but 60, and so on. So the production sharing will define it. And then for production sharing contracts or agreements, it means that the producer actually produces, and then he uses his money to produce, then he takes back in terms in using crude. It recovers its cost by crude. So it's just a basket that is, so a whole lot of things are playing there. So now the point is that you have to now extract some amount out of the whatever is left of the NNPC share,
right,
to sell to get revenue for government. So when you hear that NNPC is unable to remit money into the federation account, you can now see the picture. You can now have a clearer picture, because NNPC does not have total control over that whole 1.6 million that is produced daily. So they've called these are different loan projects, have fantastic exotic names: Panther, Bison, Eagle, Gazelle, and all that. All is just that we've mortgaged our production to certain loans, and that we are obligated to pay off this loan by giving out our crude on a daily basis to those we took money from. Some part of this money has been paid off, and some of them have run out already by last year. But we still have about 600 million to pay in terms of giving off our crude to the people we took loans from.
I still have that same assertion. It's very nice to see the NNPC acting very responsibly, paying off these loans like the story says. But what are these revenues when we take the loans? How are they benefiting the people of Nigeria? That is my enduring question.
That is a very, very important question to ask. And I mean, let's even put aside the issue of this crude for loan system that has been put in place. It has its issues, definitely, but maybe isn't this also a clear indication that revenues need to be sought from elsewhere? It's like someone who has a job and took a loan or something, and he has to facilitate paying back that loan, maybe from his salary, and a huge chunk comes out. So he clearly knows, he needs to find money from somewhere else in order to keep things balanced and keep himself running. Aren't we at that point where there's really no other place to go than to make sure or to find other ways to generate revenue?
Using that model, that person who took a loan would be quite silly if, while having that kind of debt overhang, he goes and buys an expensive SUV, bulletproof, etc. You know the rest.
Yeah.
All right, let's just...
Yeah.
You can cut down expenditure as part of that search for fiscal balance, but we're not cutting down expenditure. Enough said.
Not showing at all. No.
Zeman from Bristol says, hi guys, how can AB say that in 64 years we haven't benefited from paying taxes as Nigerians? Are we not enjoying the benefits of the presidential jet and the presidential yacht as well? Seems like Zeman,
echoed your thoughts, kind of.
JP says, why is the NNPCL doing crude for loans when she isn't reaching her OPEC quota? Who is approving this? The Minister of Petroleum has been totally abysmal. It's a JV arrangement and the NNPCL has 60%. We need to do better. DCSO is mandatory. All right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts there. AB, let's take one more story here because time is absolutely flowing by. Let's head back into The Guardian. Now, President Bola Tinubu's stern warning and the unleashing of a 5,000-man force seemed not to cut ice on the terrorists who said they were prepared to die. Now, President Tinubu had warned terrorists, bandits, and other non-state actors to surrender to government forces or to face death. Now, wanted bandit leader Bello Turji has dared Nigerian security forces, saying that he's not afraid of being killed by them.
He actually responded in a 5-minute and 40-second video, saying that everyone on earth is surely going to die. He's not ready to die. You see, this is a very short story for me. Let us arrange the meeting between Turji and his God. That's all we have to do. And all the people who are like him, they should be escorted to the gates of Hades by our security forces. Why are we still warning? Even the story says we have been under the thrall of this terrorism for over a decade. There is no need for warning. I know in some, Joseph will confirm for me, let's say you are renting a house, your landlord has told you, pay the rent, pay the rent, pay the rent. You haven't paid it for 2 years, 2 weeks or whatever. At a point, the landlord can have the right to come and remove the door, remove the roof and throw you out because he has given you warnings. What are we still warning Bello Turji and his players for? You warn them with the tips of bombs and bullets. There's no need to talk again. So to say there's still an opportunity, I feel people who have been terrorizing Nigeria for 10 years plus should not have any further opportunity to actually give themselves up. They should be terminated. So this is a fluff story telling me your days are numbered. Number those days. Stop telling we will kill you. Let it be we have terminated Bello Turji and his co-travelers. And then we can have a story to talk about that he is history. He's in the past. His remains cannot be identified except from DNA. Anything other than that, another, I'm sure, a well-sponsored and paid conference and seminar where, yes, he was represented by what's his name? The Nuhu Ribadu. But
Yeah,
talk, using strong words that I will not say on radio. They are cowards, they are this and that. Talk is cheap. If 2G has where he can upload a 5-minute, 40-second video with Nigerian network, why is our NIN not locating him? Hello? Okay.
So the whole service chiefs all went to Sokoto when started.
And what had happened?
And what happened?
What came out?
That's the question we asked when the story came. Why are you locating to Sokoto to go and hold a meeting because Toji was threatening the country?
And then he has
yeah, and then he's replying you. He's
answering them.
He's replying you.
And oh my goodness. Look, I am a hawk when it comes to our military and our security forces. I believe they are among the best in the world when equipped with the proper tools and background and everything. I believe our security forces are some of the best. For Toji to be talking to them like this, it touches me somewhere in an unacceptable place very deeply. They should terminate him and all his co-travelers. Then we have a story worth talking about.
All right, let's round up with messages. Ajayi Oluniwa says, NNPCL has mortgaged the future of our country with this monthly allocation of it's not 8 million barrels, it's 272,500 barrels of crude oil to service its $8 billion debts. God help us. Thank you for that. Ibrahim Zachary says, the answer to AB's question is they borrow the money and then they whack it. Interesting thought. Tubosu says, I assume the loans secured by crude were taken on behalf of the country and must have been approved by the federal government. Why is the federal government not coming out to defend that position? Why make NNPCL look like they are just acting irresponsibly and uncontrollable as well? Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let me see. Okay, I think there's one more here. Yomi says, when will we hold NNPCL accountable and ask why we still don't have functional refineries in place? We've been asking, they postponed 7 times. It is important to question the reasons behind this ongoing issue. Why then are we praising the NNPC when the critical task of ensuring domestic refining remains unsolved? I don't know who praised the NNPCL. I definitely didn't do that. I don't think anyone here this morning actually did. Yomi, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And thank you, AB and Joseph.
Is it because I didn't ask why this man still has a job? Is it because I didn't ask the question today?
Perhaps. Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning. Absolute pleasure having you as always.
Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful weekend ahead. Stay safe. Be blessed.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Ayo, nice to see you. IB, it's always good to be here. Thanks so much, everybody.
Always a pleasure. To have yourselves a great weekend in Lagos. Thank you for coming through and sharing your thoughts on Freshly Pressed this morning. Keep it tuned. 8:15, we're going to get into the locker room. It's all about sports at that time.